Hello everyone, we hope that you are doing well. And we are kind of divine because we think that you might use a robot to watch this video. And robots are part of our lives now. And for several centuries, robots and their predecessors, automatons, have fascinated mankind. I use the term automaton. Automaton is a machine that moves by itself, but it doesn't have real program. And their origins date back at the last of the 18th century, with one of the first automaton, or at least said automaton. It's a chess player of Compellon. It was the Turkish player. And in fact, it was an automaton that knew how to play the chess and even beat some players of the time. However, it was only a puppet manipulated by a player hidden inside a box under the automaton. However, years later, with the progress of technology, came the first real automaton. It was Gray Walters that designed it. It was Bristol Turtles in 1910. These machines, they were considered as the first automaton, and they were able to steer themselves with the help of a light source to go around obstacles and focus on goals. And it has been made more than 100 years ago. Then came several advances and the Second World War. It was the creation during the Second World War of the first computer, the Turing computer. This machine revolutionized computing, and with it all the automata. The automatons now have a computing power, and they were born, and we know them as robots. But robots hasn't stopped at the Turing machine. Now here you have a little Boston robot, and they can do more and more things. And as they do more and more things, we need to more and more legalize their existence. And a guy called Asimov came out with the idea of the 3 laws of robotics that we will detail now in our exposé.
During the 20th century, science fiction made its appearance in the eyes of art. The phases of this movement, the Big Three, were recognized from many of their works. Arthur Clarke, with The Sentinel, which inspired 2001: A Space Odyssey, Heinlein and his Starship Troopers, which was later adapted into film, and finally, Isaac Asimov, writer of The Phoenicians and notably I, Robot, in which he describes the laws that robots must follow to coexist with humans. The laws that follow are stated for robots with their own intelligence, meaning that they can act by themselves. First law: a robot may not injure a human being or, through inaction, allow a human being to come to harm. Second law: a robot must obey the orders given it by human beings, except where such orders would conflict with the first law. Third law: a robot must protect its own existence, as long as such protection does not conflict with the first or second law. A few years after enunciating these laws, Asimov pointed at a flaw in the rules and added a zeroth law. Zeroth law: a robot may not harm humanity, or, by inaction, allow humanity to come to harm. Indeed, if mankind ever reaches an advanced stage on the Kardashev scale, then mankind takes precedence over human.
Okay, thank you, Antoine, for all these details about the laws. Now I propose you a little game. You might need to pause your video and try to guess what will happen if the order of the 3 laws aren't respective. Donc, for example, one of the possible order, which is the good order, was first, don't harm humans, second, obey orders, and 3, protect yourself. Meaning that obey orders is more important in the code than protect yourself. And what are the consequences is that everything goes well, basically, and you can read the Asimov series of it. So now we will try to shuffle a bit the order, and here another proposition. What if don't harm humans are first, then protect yourself, and then obey order. So you can pause the video and try to guess. Okay, I hope that you guessed that it can be frustrating because the robot won't do anything, because anything they could do can be a harm for them, and as they have to protect themselves before ordering, doing your order, they won't do anything. Okay, second guess. What if they have to obey order first, then don't harm humans, and then protect themselves? Well, I think that this one you might understand very well and quickly. It's a war because they will first order some bad things, and it might end to a war. I will let you with other possible orders that you can try to guess, but mainly we have seen the three possible outputs of the order of Asimov law and the importance of the order in the laws.
Watch out for spoilers. As we have seen, many works, both novels and films, have been inspired by the writings of the Big Three. Among the founding masterpieces, we find of course I, Robot, which was adapted to cinema by Alex Proyas in 2004, in which we can find Sunny, a robot capable of exceeding the laws that are normally inculcated to them as a manufacturer of robots. This free will is the first piece of the puzzle to show that the Central Artificial Intelligence, Vicky, intends to take control over humans in order to ensure their protection. This schema, which has become mythical, is at the origin of many stories, and both are the source of epic villains such as the HAL 900 supercomputer in 2000 by Stanley Kubrick, or even Shodan in the video game System Shock 1994. Both of them ended by killing the crew of the space station. Among the great works we can also mention Terminator by James Cameron, released in 1984. This film of revolutionary anticipation for the time plunges us into a future controlled by Skynet, an AI that wages a war on human resistance, and does not hesitate to send a Terminator into the past to kill the mother of the resistance leader, Sarah Connor. This film shows us a universe in which technology has crossed the horizon of singularity. This singularity is an hypothetical future point at which technology growth becomes uncontrollable and irreversible. Stephen Hawking has expressed concern that AI could result in human extinction. However, the consequences of the singularity may harm humanity, as it is shown in Terminator or even Matrix, but it can also benefit mankind. Indeed, in the famous novel of Philip K. Dick, Do Android Dream of Electric Sheep, we can find replicants that serve humans for 4 years. However, some of them wanted to live longer than that and started to develop feelings such as fear of disappearing, the natural human fear, the death. In Ridley Scott's film adaptation, the replicant Roy Batty is obsessed with wanting to live longer, goes back to his creator to get him, and admit that they are programmed to die, and, as he say, like a candle, the brighter it shines, the less it lasts, and Roy burns with an impelling fire. His grief, Roy Batty ends up killing his marker. Descartes, the hero of the film, Spectre in charge in finding the replicants, follow Batty's trail, and a confrontation between the two of them ensues. Batty, on the winning pole, saves Descartes' life, which was on the point to die. The surprising gesture is followed by a monologue that would become mythical in the moving history.
I've seen things you people wouldn't believe. Attack ships on fire off the shoulder of Orion. I watched sea beams glitter in the dark near the Tannhauser Gate. All those moments will be lost in time. like tears in rain. Time to die.
The question is why? Why does Roy Beatty save Descartes? He saves him not out of kindness, but because he needs the whiteness to tell that replicants, like humans, also have feelings. This gesture of compassion is remembered as a human saving a human. We can find this humanization of robots in other works, such as the manga Ghost in the Shell, Ex Machina, and of course, the sequel of Blade Runner itself. All the remaining fiction are barely shown. We can still talk of the Neuromancer and AI manipulate humans to complete itself, or even Matrix, where the humans are placed in simulation, in order that the Matrix could control them. There are so many fiction that it's impossible to have an exhaustive list. However, all this fiction led to ethical issues, and I think we can wonder ourselves, are robots human?
Antoine, through its example, shows us that it doesn't work in fiction. And spoiler, it also doesn't work in real life because of the definition. What is a human, what is a robot, what is harm, etc. So if we can't find perfect rules, can we find some ethic? Like good conduct of robotic? Let's take a step back and look at the biologists, because there is a rule of bioethics, there is a legislation, and let's take this example of a drosophile. This Drosophila has been genetically modified in his DNA, and we replaced the antenna with the legs on his head. And there are specific rules about that. For example, if you can't breed a human embryo more than 15 days in France. Can we do the same thing with the robot? Well, it's not exactly the same thing, because robots have today a hardware with, for example, a drone, a plane. What is ethic for something that can do harm, a weapon, or for example something that can cut your hair very badly and injure you. But we have not only the hardware in the robot, we also have the software. So for example, the way that your spam is handled by your email. What is a spam and what is not? Today, for example, Google can put in spam some email from associations that need money from you, as well as some malveillant harmware. We can also think about Alex, which is who is, I don't know if it's human or not, but which is an artificial intelligence that was on Twitter and became racist in some days because it responded and learned from the users. So if we want to build an ethic, we also have to think about robot as two separated things, hardware and software, and also on one element. So there is no rules, and they are not good conduct of robotic for now. As a conclusion, we saw that there were no good conduct of robotic, no good ethic of robotic, and the three rules of Isaac Asimov doesn't work in real life as well as in science fiction. So if you want to stop here, you can. But the following might show that it's not even a good idea to have these three rules implemented, these four rules implemented in future robots. If you want to know about that, you might need to know that it will change your life forever if you know about the following conclusion. Are you sure you want to talk about that? Okay. So we'll talk about the Rocco's Basilic. The Rocco's Basilic, it's a thought experiment where there is a super intelligence that wants the good of humanity. So it starts well. And it wants the good of humanity like the zeroth law implemented it. So in the time and for everyone. The best thing that could happen for humanity is the creation of this super intelligence, because it will help every human. And this thing know that everything that harms human should be punished. So for example, another human that will kill a human should be punished because he harmed the humanity. But it goes further. Everything that didn't help the super intelligence to come faster to help the human should also be punished, because if he come later, the super intelligence, it will harm more people in time. So you today, now that you know that this intelligence will come, you might be punished if you don't do everything you're capable of to help it to appear and help humanity. So the conclusion is, the rules are robotic are not great, even in theory, in particular because of the definition and because of the time.